I'm Joyee Lin and I'm here in Southern California, and I work with a lot of kids throughout Southern California as well as around the country on college admissions prep, and today I'll be ranking AP classes. So I'm going to be ranking them in 3 different categories. We're going to look at how difficult the content of these classes are. We're also going to look at how popular they are among high school students, and the thing that you all want to know, we're going to rank them on how important they are when you're applying to college. So I'm going to go off the AP website and how they've listed the classes. So the first 2 classes I'm going to lump together. They're AP Research and AP Seminar. So these 2 classes are kind of new classes, and it's AP's response to the IB Diploma program. About 50,000 take AP Seminar and 20,000 take AP Research. They aren't really popular right now, but I find them really interesting in that they allow you the opportunity to take your topic that you're interested in, and you can take that topic, write a research paper which will truly prepare you for college. Most people pass the AP Research and AP Seminar exam, but only about 10% get 5s. So I will rank these in the A category because I think they're really important for those of you who want to go into a research-based major. The next category is the AP Design classes. So this is studio art, drawing, 2D, 3D art. These I'm going to rank kind of low. I'm going to put them in the last category. Not to diss on any art majors because I think art majors are really cool. It's that these are really not helpful unless you're going into an art major. Unless you're submitting a portfolio to college, it's not going to get you any credit. It's not hard to pass these exams, but it's really hard to get a 5 on these. So unless you're really interested in art, I would recommend against these classes. The next class is AP Art History. It's not a really popular class, and a lot of high schools don't offer it. In fact, only about 23,000 people took the test last year. So it's really interesting for people who are into history or love looking at different art styles. However, because it's not such a practical class and because a lot of colleges don't really offer credit for art history, I'm going to rank this in the D category. I'm going to put AP Music Theory in that same category too, just because it's a really limited class, and if you're going into a music major, you actually don't even need this class. You're going to have to take the music theory classes in college anyways. They're not going to give you credit. You can get the theory through other things like Certificate of Merit program and other stuff like that. So this also goes into the bottom category. Sorry. Next, we have the most popular AP class in all of time ever. We have AP English Language. If you're watching this video, you're probably planning to take it or have taken it. Last year, over 500,000 students slogged their way through this class. So I'm going to rank this class in the A category for a bunch of reasons. Number 1, it's your first chance at learning how to really write. Number 2, it should prepare you for college if you have a really good teacher that pushes you. It has a pretty decent pass rate. Over 60% of students pass it. 12% of students have gotten a 5. Even if you aren't really strong at English, I would recommend that you try to take this class if you feel like you can read and write, because you want to challenge yourself. And here's a bonus tip. If you practice the AP English Language multiple choice questions, that'll also help prepare you for the ACT reading section. So next is AP English Literature. This is normally taken in your senior year and is reading heavy. There's so many books you have to read. The one nice thing is that if you're planning to take AP English Lit, you can kind of read the books over the summer to get ahead. One of the reasons that I'm not going to put this in the A category and maybe put it in the C category is because a lot of colleges won't let you double dip the course credit. If you get a 5 on the AP English Lang and you get a 5 on the AP English Lit, you may only get enough elective credit for just one class. So this is why this doesn't rank as high. Also, senioritis starts to kick in and maybe you're not wanting to do the work. And then the other part is the poetry part. A lot of people have trouble analyzing poetry and it's not as fun. So if I were going to pick between AP English Lang and AP English Lit, I'd obviously pick Lang. However, if you're good at English, go ahead and take AP English Lit too. The next 2 I'm going to lump together are the 2 AP Gov classes. One is US Gov and one is Comparative Gov. This one's gonna go into the E category just because it's kind of a throwaway class. You do need to take Gov to graduate from high school in California, but there's really nothing that you're learning that is extra special. It's a lot of memorization. It's a really popular class. Almost 300,000 people take it, but I don't know. I think there are better things to do with your time. But that's just me, I'm biased. Next is AP Euro. So over here in California, it's really commonly taken in 10th grade, which I think is kind of traumatic for 10th graders, because for a lot of 10th graders, this is their first AP class. It's pretty dense. There's a lot of vocabulary words that you have to learn, a lot of terms you have to define. The test itself is really hard too because you have the DBQ. It's your first time writing this enormous essay. And so for that reason, I'm gonna put this in the C category. It's definitely a challenge, especially if you're not used to taking AP courses. And it's pretty popular, but I definitely think that if you plan to take it, you need to feel extra prepared to do the work. A lot of teachers will pile a ton of note-taking and paper writing on top of you, so please be ready to take this class. Next is AP HUG. HUG stands for Human Geography. This is commonly taken in freshman year here in California, and it's a really excellent introduction to AP classes. I find the information really interesting because it's relevant to what's going on in the world right now. You get to look at the population of different countries, you kind of get an overview of what's going on politically speaking. The test itself isn't that hard as long as you stay on top of your work. So I'm going to put this in the B category. Next we have the two econs. I'm going to lump these two together, macro and micro, because here in California, if you take AP Econ, you end up having to take both tests anyways. So the tests themselves are pretty straightforward. These are considered one semester AP classes compared to other ones where they're considered a 2-semester class. So if you were to pass the test, you'd get 1 semester of credit for each test that you pass. So by that logic, these classes don't have as much content to cover, so that's a positive thing. The other thing is that almost 20% of kids get a 5, so that's really good. So these aren't the hardest tests in the world. The one negative component about these is not all colleges will offer credit for them, but if they do, you can get up to 2 semesters of credit. And the other thing is that econ is just pretty relevant in today's world. A lot of kids want to go into some type of business, so if you're interested in that realm, definitely take econ. I would put this in the A category. Yay! Next we have AP Psych. Psychology is such a fascinating topic, and every student that I've talked to have always said, oh yeah, I always found the class interesting. You learn about the way people's minds work, the ways people think, and so it's a lot of really interesting stuff that you will see in the news, you'll read about. So this is totally relevant. You can see that it's a really popular class because almost 300,000 kids take it. The pass rate isn't that bad either. It looks like 71% of students pass it and 22% of students get a 5. So if you just really work on learning your vocabulary, you're set for this. So I'm going to put this in the A category. Yay! Okay, this was my traumatic class in high school. This was A Push. So I'm a little bit biased because I didn't have the best A Push teacher. She piled a lot of work on me and didn't explain any of the concepts. And here's something that I'm kind of ashamed to admit. By the time I took the test, I didn't even know that the federal government meant national government. It's a really popular class, but from my experience, it's a really work-heavy class. You have to be prepared for the work if you're wanting to take it. And more often than not, I end up convincing students not to take it because from the college standpoint, it isn't the most impressive class. It's just like, oh, okay, they took A Push, great, move on. So it is the second most popular class according to my notes. 470,000 kids took the test last year. So I'm going to put this in the D category. It's great to learn US history. I'm actually really fascinated by it, but I think having to do it in the context of an AP class isn't necessarily the best way. Okay, the next one is AP World. For students here in California, they have the option to take AP World or AP Euro in 10th grade. And I find AP World very confusing. It's covering so many different countries. There's not a very clear connection. At least with Europe, it's all like one area. At least with APUSH, it's all one area, so you can kind of see the connecting threads over time. With World, you're hopping from like China to like Turkey, and then you're hopping to Africa. So it can be really, really confusing and just like, oh my god, it feels like I'm trying to memorize a million different things. And again, for a sophomore taking this, it's also like a rude awakening into the world of AP classes. Only 9% of students get a 5 on this, and from the college perspective, it doesn't really matter in AP World unless you're one of those 9% that get a 5, then maybe that'll raise some eyebrows. So I'm gonna put this in the F category. Sorry for people who like AP World. You're gonna really see my bias with this next one. The next one is AP Calculus AB. This one's taken by 266,000 kids, so it's a really, really popular class. It's the most popular math class, and this one's the first one that I'm actually gonna put, no, I'm not gonna do it right now. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna put this one in the A category. Yay! The biggest reason is that colleges love to see AP Calculus on the transcript if you're doing anything business related, STEM related, anything like that. They view calculus as fundamental. Like, out of all the classes I've talked about so far, this one has the highest reputation in college admissions officers' minds. And if you're decent at math, you have a fairly good shot at passing this. The distribution is pretty even. Almost 20% of kids get a 5 on this, and if you get a 5, you can pass out of your first semester or first 2 semesters of college calculus. Although here's a tip, even if you do get a 5, you may want to retake calculus because there may be a few topics that you haven't covered in AP Calculus that you'll need to cover in college level calculus. It's also a good way to transition in college so you're not taking the hardest classes your first semester. The next one is AP Sibling BC, and this one's the first one I'm gonna put into the S category. Huzzah! This one is the big kahuna of tests when it comes to college admissions. They're gonna see, oh my gosh, this kid is taking BC, this kid is pushing themselves. BC is one of the most conceptually challenging classes out of all the AP classes. However, if you look in our history, some of the biggest philosophers of all time were also mathematicians. If you can think conceptually about these concepts, you can apply to different concepts outside of math. So even if you're not a math person, but you have the ability to kind of get it and do numbers, I would recommend trying to take this if at all possible. You can see that people who are really good at math end up taking this class because the 5 rate is almost 50%, and over 80% of kids pass the BC exam. So this isn't for the faint of heart, but if you end up taking it, it can showcase really, really well. Now, if your school does BC after AB, it'll be a really, really easy transition. For other schools though, they have you jump into BC directly out of honors pre-calculus. If you do that, my recommendation is you do some self-studying on your own so you aren't bombarded by all the different concepts right away. The next one falls under the category of math, so this is Comp Sci A. This one's the higher level computer science one in which you learn Java. So of course everybody wants to take computer science. It's one of the most popular majors for students applying to college. However, even though this is a very useful class, I'm gonna put this in the B category just because it isn't taught very well. So the issue is we have a lot of computer scientists now, a lot of people who are really great at it, but they aren't teaching. So a lot of the teachers who are teaching are fresh out of college or are tired of Silicon Valley and are deciding to quit their job, but maybe aren't the best teachers. The professional development for teaching Java is still kind of low. A lot of it is just like the student having to struggle through it on their own. So unless you're really good at solving puzzles, you may struggle through this class. So yeah, you're going to the B category. Then we have computer science principles. So this is the precursor to computer science A. This is kind of a confusing class in that some teachers teach a language for this class, other teachers don't teach a language for this class, so students are just kind of half learning a language. So for that reason, I'm going to rank this in the C category. I actually don't, well, let me say it this way. I feel that this class gives a good introduction to the idea of coding, but doesn't actually really teach coding. So it's not that hard to pass the test, but will you learn something? Not so much, and depending on the school, like, I've heard more negative things about this class than I've heard positive things, just because the instruction is kind of lacking. So yeah. The final math class we have is AP Stats. So I get this question all the time: AP Calc or AP Stats? AP Calc or AP Stats? And my answer is take AP Calc if you can. However, if you don't feel really confident in math, you must do AP Stats, because stats is a prerequisite course for so many majors. If you do psychology, if you do biology, if you do business, you're going to have to take some sort of stats. And here's something interesting that happens to me a lot, is I'll meet with adults, and adults are trying to finish their business degree later in life, and the one class that keeps them from graduating ends up being stats. So stats isn't as calculation heavy, but it's explanation heavy. So you have to be able to look at numbers, look at data, and be able to explain it. This is considered a one semester class, so if you pass the class and get credit, you'll only get 1 semester of credit. However, it's really useful. I'm more of a numbers guy myself, so I like calculus, but I see the value in stats, but I don't think it's the most fun class, so this one's going to go into the B category. So now we're moving on to the science category. The first and the most popular science class we have is AP Bio. I think out of all the STEM majors, Bio has to be one of the most popular ones in college. However, this class is super hard. There's so much memorization going on, all the concepts are different. You're doing cells, and then you're doing animals, and then you're doing genetics. It's a lot to keep track of. And so I only recommend it to students who really want to go into some sort of STEM major. Maybe they want to do pre-health, or maybe they want to do nursing or med or something like that. It's a lot of work, and you have to really like it. And I'm not a fan of memorization classes. It's also one of the tests with the lowest 5 rates. Less than 10% of people are able to get a 5, just because there's so much explaining that you have to do on the test. So I see the value of this class. From the college side, they'll see the value also if you're going into STEM. However, if you're not going into STEM, they're just going to view it as neutral. So for that reason, I'm going to put this in the C category. A lot of the stuff I said for AP Bio, I'm also going to say for AP Chem, except AP Chem has a little bit more computation involved, but there's definitely a lot of memorization. And so unless you're planning to go into some sort of STEM field, this is one that isn't absolutely necessary. It has a reputation for being very hard as well. And so I'm going to put this into the C category right next to AP Bio. APES. So for people who want a little bit of rigor in their senior year or junior year but don't want to take one of the hardest AP Bio or AP Chem classes, they end up taking APES, AP Environmental Science. This is a pretty straightforward class. It goes through a lot of the same concepts as AP Bio does, but it doesn't go as deep, and it's talking more about like weather patterns, the environment, obviously because it's AP Environmental Science. I do think the topics are relevant, but from the college perspective, it isn't viewed as super rigorous, and a lot of colleges won't even give you any credit for the class. So because of that, this one goes into the E category. E for Environmental Science. Next is AP Physics 1. So this is part of the holy trinity of classes. So it's Bio, Chem, and Physics. Colleges love to see all 3 of them. They don't have to be AP, but they view this as the core curriculum for science. So if you can take AP Physics 1 at all, I definitely recommend it. It is a very difficult class though. It's a lot of computations, but you actually don't use numbers to compute. You actually use letters to compute, and I think that freaks a lot of people out. There's a lot of explaining in the test as well. Only 51% of students pass it, and less than 10% get a 5. So it's not for the faint of heart, but it really challenges you at being good at explaining something. So if you plan to do engineering, obviously you have to do Physics 1. And so even though I love the class itself, it's really difficult. I'm gonna put this in the B category. And then only recently, College Board decided to split the physics into 2 levels. It used to be 1, so I actually took them all in AP Physics B, but now it's AP Physics 1 and AP Physics 2. They split it up into 2 years. So if you're going into engineering, if you do AP Physics 1, I think you need to do AP Physics 2. I've looked through a bunch of the college AP credit requirements, and some colleges won't even give you credit for AP Physics 1 unless you pass AP Physics 2 as well. It is a necessary class, however, a lot of schools don't offer it yet, so for that reason I'm going to put this in the C category. It's hard also, it's conceptual, but take it if you plan to do engineering. The next one is AP Physics C. So I'm going to lump together mechanics and electricity and magnetism. So just like Calculus BC, this is another one of the gold standards of AP classes. This is viewed as incredibly rigorous by college admissions officers. They want to see this class if at all possible, even if you're not going into a STEM major. It's the same idea here. Kids who do well in AP Physics C aren't necessarily just good at science, they're good at explaining, they're good at philosophy, they're good at understanding relationships between things in nature. So this is one of those more broad philosophical classes as much as it is a science class. You can see that there's an incredibly high pass rate. That's because people go in knowing what they're doing in terms of science. So this class again isn't for the faint of heart, but because of how highly regarded it is by colleges, I'm going to put this one in the S category. Huzzah! So the next one I'm just going to lump together in all one big category. This is the foreign language category. So foreign languages are obviously really important these days, especially because our world is like kind of consolidating. People are like multilingual, bilingual, trilingual. They need to speak different languages, especially if they want to do business, international business. So I really try to push my students to take an AP language class if at all possible. Obviously this course is kind of self-selecting. The kids who take AP Lang are the ones, or AP Foreign Lang are the ones who are very confident in their language speaking ability, so you can kind of see that in the pass rate. Usually on the test, over 75% of students pass, more than a quarter get a 5 on it. The language exam itself is also really interesting in that there's a spoken portion as well, so they're testing your writing abilities, your reading abilities, your speaking abilities. It's a pretty comprehensive test. I do recommend taking that test because a lot of colleges have a foreign language requirement as well. You want to make sure that you get that credit so you can place out of that foreign language requirement in college, or you can place ahead in college. So this is a pretty important class. Also from the admissions perspective, people like seeing consistency over 4 years. So this is a way you can show consistency in a core subject. So for all those reasons, I'm going to put foreign languages in the A category. Yay! There's a couple exceptions within the foreign language category that I do want to point out. AP Latin, it's not a spoken language. And for some reason, colleges don't regard this as rigorous as the other languages, so most will only offer 1 semester of credit. So AP Latin gets moved down to the B category, although I find Latin word roots fascinating. The other one is Spanish literature. So this is usually for students who've taken AP Spanish Lang in their junior year and maybe need an extra challenge. So this is reading heavy, so unless you're really interested in that, then how do I say this in a nice way? I like AP Spanish Lang more, so Spanish Lang gets moved down to B also. So here's my disclaimer. These opinions are my own from having worked with a bunch of students in the Southern California area. Now obviously the classes are going to vary depending on what school you go to, what teachers you have, and what major you want to major in. So for your own benefit, make sure you do research to make sure that these are the best classes for you, because AP classes are not one size fits all. And another thing is, maybe you want to take these classes just to explore what field you might be interested in. So in that way, AP classes can also be really beneficial. So you have to kind of decide, are you taking this for exposure? Are you taking this for college credit? Or what reasons do you have for taking these classes? So if you have any questions about what AP classes may be good for you, feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, that's it for today. Feel free to leave a comment below about which AP class you're excited to take or which AP class you'll never recommend to anybody. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe.